So Shams just tweeted about 15 minutes ago as I record this video that LaMelo Ball will be reevaluated in 2 weeks with a left calf strain. If you are a Hornets fan, this has to be just a punch to the gut, to be completely honest. I mean, I understand reevaluated in 2 weeks probably means out for 3 weeks, maybe even a month, probably likely not going to play for a bit, but in any other situation on a better team, I feel like this wouldn't be a death sentence for the team for the season. But this feels like with the amount of injuries the Hornets are already having to try to overcome and the struggle of depth that this team already has clearly, especially with top end scoring talent like LaMelo is, they're already not playing very well. This feels very quickly like something that could go south now that LaMelo is out and just become another lost season in Charlotte, which is unfortunate for a team that I think had decently high expectations this season to at least improve and be a play-in team in the East, competitive in the East, maybe try to make an actual playoff series. And that dream looks to be slipping away pretty quickly from this Hornets roster because, I mean, again, if he's reevaluated in 2 weeks, that means he's out for 3 or 4. We may not see LaMelo until about New Year's. And that will be a killer for a team that is so reliant on his scoring, averaging 31 points a game on pretty solid efficiency, shooting 13 threes a game. I mean, outside of that, Brandon Miller's averaging 19. Miles Bridges, who's injured right now, is averaging 16. Neither of whom are doing it on particularly elite efficiency, both less efficient than LaMelo from inside the three-point line and honestly from the three-point line as well. Brandon Miller's right there at about the same efficiency rate. But Grant Williams, who was their fourth leading scorer, is out for the season. Nick Richards has played 3 games. So cool that or maybe 5 games. I don't know. He's played a few games, averaging 11 points and 10 rebounds, but he hasn't played in over a month. And he is expected back soon, as is Miles Bridges, as is Mark Williams, who hasn't played this season. When they get all 3 of those guys back, that might help a bit to try to keep this team afloat, at least in theory. That would give you hopefully some better big man depth because they've been playing guys like Moussa Diabate and Taj Gibson like all of their center minutes, and that's pretty disastrous, especially since they lost Grant Williams, because Grant was actually playing pretty good. Like I know Grant Williams gets memed about a lot, but I actually think he was playing pretty good. Josh Green has been solid as of late, shooting super duper efficient from 3. Obviously, I know a lot about Josh Green because he was a Mav. I feel like he was a pretty good Mav there for a couple of years. I think it was the 2023 season in which the 22-23 season in which he was really starting to improve, and then last year it felt like he kind of stagnated a bit. But glad to see him playing pretty good as of late in Charlotte, and I hope that continues. Now his 2-point efficiency is not good. He's certainly not a shot creator at all, at least not much, but he's a decent player, and I think an okay role player for this team. Cody Martin is probably the worst Martin, but he's not a bad player either. He's playing okay. Trey Mann, is Trey Mann still injured? I have their injuries pulled up. Trey Mann is still injured. He's also day-to-day. He is also probably expected to be back relatively soon in the near future. But I mean, look at this team, y'all. At the end of the day, they don't have top end scoring without LaMelo because Brandon Miller is already, I mean, he's a very good player, right? But I don't think he's suddenly going to go to averaging 28 a game and with LaMelo out. And he kind of needs to, because they have to replace 31 points a game on a team that is already really struggling. And I have a hard time seeing this going very well in the near future for the Hornets, in all honesty, because I mean, let's look at their record for the next month. They've lost 4 games in a row. They get to play the Hawks, who are playing better. They're playing the Hawks tonight. Sixers, I mean, this might actually be a win for the Sixers. Knicks, Cavs, Pacers, 3 pretty tough Eastern Conference opponents. The Wizards is not, but then you play the Sixers again. The Rockets are tough. Wizards, no, but Oklahoma City Thunder's tough. The Bulls are feisty, especially with how well Vucevic is playing. The Pistons have been good. The Cavs, the Suns, like you look at their roster, and you could pretty easily see if LaMelo's not back until January, and then on January, all of a sudden they go on this Western Conference road trip where they're playing all these tough all these tough Western Conference teams. I could really easily see a team that is currently what are they in the standings? I don't have the NBA standings pulled up. I can pull up the standings real quickly. What are they in the standings though? Because I mean, it can't be good. Let's just put it that way. They are currently the 12 seed with a 6-13 record. And I think the potential of continuing to get worse. If they lose 10 of their next 15 games and all of a sudden are 11-23, even in a bad Eastern Conference, that's just not going to cut it. This is going to wind up being another lost year in Charlotte, I think, is the unfortunate truth. Because I don't think when LaMelo comes back, even if they're fully healthy, I don't think this team is any better than a 500 team. And that's if they're fully healthy with LaMelo, B. Miller, Miles Bridges. Grant Williams is out for the year, but they really could still use him. Mark Williams, Nick Richards, all those guys. If they have everybody maybe they're around a 500 team, maybe at best. So if they come back, if they wind up getting this roster healthy around middle of January, maybe, I still think it's probably going to be too late for them to make a run at anything. Like maybe they can compete for the 10 seed if a team like the Nets, the Bulls fall off significantly, because I think the Hawks, the Pacers, and the Pistons, at least to me, feel confidently like play-in teams. So they're going to need the Nets and the Bulls to fall off a lot. But with how good those teams have been playing and how competitive they've been, I'm not sure that's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And so while I think, and I mean, also the Sixers are a couple games below them, but the Sixers at some point might start to play better basketball as well. They're another team that I think has designs of still finding a way to get into the play-in this season. Like, they're not just going to tuck it in and give up on the season with the amount of salary they're paying for and all that. Like, this Eastern Conference, even though it's not very good, still does not favor the Hornets at this point. I feel like they're very quickly going to fall too far behind the 8 ball with this LaMelo injury. And it's a real shame for LaMelo himself, a guy who was playing incredible basketball on a night-to-night basis. Was it resulting in winning? Not much. Was that his fault? Honestly, I don't think so. He doesn't have a lot of help. He's been about as efficient as you could ask for with the degree of difficulty of offense that he is playing. And look, I'm sure it's the NBA, man. Like, next man up. They're going to try their best to compete. But I have a hard time realistically seeing a path to the Hornets staying anything close to 500 with LaMelo Ball out. And I feel like they truly just might fall too far behind the 8 ball at this point for that to have any positive effect. Like, this feels like it's likely going to be another lost season for the Hornets, which is a shame. And the biggest shame of it all is that it's probably going to be a lost season and that they're going to be struggling to at best make the play-in and probably going to miss that. But they're not going to be bad enough in all likelihood unless they truly just commit to tanking again later in the year to actually get a top pick. And it's a shame because I think this was the year where people thought things were going to be different. Charles Lee, new young head coaching hire, Kemba Walker coming back to Charlotte as an assistant, improved roster, all that type of stuff. The idea was that this year was going to be the year the Hornets were going to start to show some promise. And that unfortunately just looks like it's not going to be the case. And that's a shame. So with that being said, maybe they'll wind up high up in the lottery again, get lucky in the lottery process and find themselves with a top 5 or so pick. And who knows, maybe they'll just be really bad because they're 6-13. They're not that far at the end of the day out of a high lottery pick. Maybe they'll just tank again. I feel like that's unlikely though. I think they're a little too talented compared to some of the worst teams in the league to effectively be one of those bottom 4 squads and have a really high chance at Cooper Flag. But it is a deep draft class. There's a lot of talent, and maybe they'll be able to add to this piece of the puzzle and hopefully find themselves some answers in this offseason. They're going to have to draft better, though, because outside of LaMelo and Brandon Miller, they really haven't hit a ton on draft picks. Like, I think Mark Williams is a decent pick. James Bouknight was terrible. Kai Jones absolutely busted with the Hornets. Like, they have had some pretty big misses over the past decade that have definitely not helped their draft situation, and they need to improve this roster further. And I think the best way to do that is going to be through the draft. Otherwise, we're very soon going to have serious trading LaMelo conversations, I think, because people are already starting to murmur about the Hornets need to trade LaMelo. Like, that's starting to happen. And I kind of understand why. They're letting one of the best talents in the league waste away, and now they don't have him either. I think they're screwed. I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If y'all did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.